CAAVO's new control center, tech travel tools, connected smoke alarms, and some phones with all the storage. All coming up on TekThing. A big thank you to our patrons Chad H., Dwayne, David, and James J. Join the crew that makes TekThing possible at patreon.com/TekThing. Thanks.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we have something useful in every single show.
I would like to make a very public apology to our editor Colleen, who heard me howling in the style of Elton John.
She did.
At the beginning
pretty
of this
good.
segment.
It was pretty good.
It was very falsetto and it was very loud.
It was.
So Colleen.
Hi, Colleen.
I'm sorry. And I will learn the sign language for that by next week, in case
really?
your ears are completely gone.
Wow, I can't wait to see that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So let's talk about the CAAVO Control Center. Remember the CAAVO?
Yeah, I do remember the CAAVO.
It was like $399 and it had 8 HDMI ports and it was
yeah.
going to do all the things. So this time it's $99 at Sports for HDR and Atmos, and sadly, no longer offers the hidden browser that was keeping your watch list updated across all the different services you were using. Instead, it offers Discovery, which basically involves social and playlists. Hey, I think these movies are great. And the CAAVO Cache, which is a long list of what you've most recently been streaming through the CAAVO Control Center, which is good.
Yeah.
But I will say that the original CAAVO had, I really like the idea that you could be like, oh, this is everything on my watch list for all these different platforms. So right now, when you look at the CAAVO,
the CAAVO.
There
Thank
we
you.
go. Control Center. She loves doing that.
I
Think
do.
solid Harmony remote competitor with some nifty voice commands, rather than the previous $400 CAAVO,
Yeah.
which was next-gen AI wonderbot that often fails. And you've got a good sense of what the CAAVO Control Center is all about. It's basically about working and not overreaching. So CAAVO doesn't really get interesting until you have more than 2 devices, your AVR, an Apple TV, a DVD Blu-ray player, you know what I mean? Like once you start adding things onto this, or I should say supported devices like an Apple TV or a Fire TV, a Roku, NVIDIA Shield, you know, cable satellite boxes, that's when things start getting really slick. And when you use supported services like Amazon Prime or iTunes or Netflix, the list is a lot longer than that. In fact, if you want to look at it on a really highly compressed screen, look, kids, there's a whole bunch of services.
Oh, wow.
After you've connected everything, which was really painless compared to CAAVO 1.0, even with having to set up the included IR blaster and teach CAAVO the right IR code to power my projector on and off, which was really easy compared to CAAVO 1.0, even though I had to basically teach the CAAVO Control Center a code to power my projector on and off, and I had to, where is it, kids? I'm saying kids a lot today. I had to actually add the IR blaster. Well, the Control Center is with all my AV equipment in a closet, and the projector is not, right?
Yeah.
Projector support's not really a priority for CAAVO because there aren't that many projectors. But really, once all that was done, all I had to do was press the mic button and say, watch Eureka or watch Black Panther, and the options across all the different services were there. A couple of clicks and I had it on my preferred source. So, they kind of gave up the idea that it's, it can noodle down to open up something, but if you're searching for something, it's basically going to be like, you can buy Black Panther. You can, you click on a button, it gives you all the places you can watch it or pay for it or watch it for free. Occasionally, my first voice search didn't work. Turns out there is a racier French version of Beauty and the Beast that my kids aren't ready to see.
Oh, so funny.
Now it's funny. But if the app is supported by CAAVO, the voice search basically works.
Okay.
One thing that's kind of frustrating, you can't use, so there's the mic button, right?
Yeah.
And what's great is you're like, oh,
And it works far away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting here, it's down at the, it's at the far end of your arm. It doesn't matter, it just works. What you can't use it for is, for example, the Siri voice search on the Apple TV. So if you've gotten used to speaking your incredibly complicated password into Apple TV's password because you've or you're basically password protected buying new stuff so your kids don't buy 9 seasons of Phineas and Ferb.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to be like bink, 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 which I found annoying. And of course, CAAVO doesn't search apps that aren't on its list. So like with CAAVO 1.0, we had to manually dig into the PBS app to get the new season of Poldark, because if you voice search for Poldark, it basically gave you the paid options, which don't include season 4, much to my wife's horror, until I was like, it's okay, we'll just go to the PBS app. The big giant CAAVO button that pulls up the screen, you can see it right here. It's like advertising. It's awesome. The skinny little 4-way button that wraps around the primary input button, not so awesome. It could be a lot less skinny. And that's not just because I have giant paws. Pretty much everybody that touched it was like, until they figured out exactly where to put their fingers. And so you're going to have to learn some things with CAAVO. There's no backlight, which drove me nuts at first. And then I finally accepted that they're capacitive buttons. So if you barely touch a button, it'll
still work?
No, a little thing pops up on the screen and tells you what the button does. That's the fast forward button. That's the rewind button. That's the play button. And I'm actually moving my fingers to the right button without looking. That actually is pretty slick. But if you aren't patient enough to kind of figure that out, it'll drive you a little crazy. Side note, press the remote buttons really hard. And also, side note, if you're the kind of person who puts this on the arm of the couch and pokes, you have to pick it up for it to work.
Really?
Well, it basically, I think, to save batteries, it just shuts down. But when you pick it up, you can press buttons. Well, you can press buttons when it's
actually kind of cool too.
Sitting there. It just doesn't do anything. But as soon as you pick it up, it works. Little things. I gotta say, overall, I like it. It is a massive upgrade to the original CAAVO in terms of usability, and not just because it adds HDR and Atmos. Yes, there's only 4 HDMI inputs. How many things do you have plugged into the HDMI on your AVR?
You don't want to know.
3?
I have a lot.
2?
Switch, classic Nintendo, classic Super Nintendo. I have the Roku. I have a PS4, an Xbox.
Okay. So we're not good examples.
No, I'm not a good example at all.
For most normal human beings, 4 HDMI inputs. And the truth is you could throw it would be irritating because you'd have to manually switch to the other devices. But for most people, 4 HDMI ports is probably more than enough. It's an affordable alternative to the Logitech Harmony remotes. Logitech Harmony remotes were a big deal for a lot of people, including in my family.
That's what I have at home. I currently use one of those.
These are pretty awesome. And I mean, one of the challenges for me working with the CAAVO was that, for example, when I hit, when I go to when I launch the Blu-ray system, I like saying system rather than the actual official Harmony term because I feel like I'm driving a submarine then. But when I do that, right, it can turn on the Blu-ray player, the projector, the AVR. CAAVO's got that covered, but it will also roll down the screen for my projector, and if you've got them, it'll turn down the lights. Right?
That's awesome.
That you can't currently do with the CAAVO.
Awesome.
So. That's the one big problem with CAAVO in my house. Remember I mentioned projectors? There is no way for me to program the CAAVO to get it to send out an IR signal to roll down the projection screen. Could be added in the future, but the reality is there are this many people with projection screens and this many people with televisions, so it's probably not a super priority. I am an AV geek. That's why there's AVXL. I hope CAAVO adds features like that in the future. From what I've heard from them, it sounds like they might. But for basic television, AVR, soundbar, consoles,
TV, no projector at the moment.
It's very good.
Cool.
Wi-Fi or Ethernet, fairly painless setup.
Awesome.
It only gets painful when you have a device that it doesn't know about. But even manually programming in all of the buttons for the remote for my antiquated, apparently over-the-air tuner wasn't that bad.
That's good.
It is good, and it's $99, which is
even better.
Bad for a fairly dense piece of hardware.
Well, I'm happy to hear that it seems like they're listening to their fans and they're listening to their users and making changes, and they're making changes pretty quickly too, which I'm very happy to see.
I was not expecting this to show up.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
Also, the big brass button, which is sort of a callback to the original CAAVO design.
It's very nice.
It makes the alarm, or the alarm, it makes the remote sing.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's got the lost remote finder.
That's awesome.
I love that. Just like a Roku. Bink. And then it sings.
Let us know if you have any questions about the CAAVO or any other home entertainment gear that you want us to have in for a review. We would love to check everything out because us too, we also enjoy the home entertainment media. Meh. Come on, you have kids. You got to enjoy the TV now and then.
I have like 300 Blu-rays. It's a thing.
Ask at TekThing.com, or you can tweet us at TekThing.
Please do. 3 questions answered, 3 picks, 3 reviews. This week's rapid fire round. We haven't done a rapid fire roundup in forever.
It's been a long time. To be honest, I forgot how to do that intro.
That's okay. What are you picking or answering? Questioning?
I have 3 different travel accessories that I just cannot live without. And a couple of these are from Dell. The other one is from Kingston.
A lot of people don't know Shannon, big hockey enthusiast, travels with her magic Was this actually a finals high? I'm joking.
It's my hockey stick. Just kidding.
This is
So this thing is called the Dell DA300.
Yay, sports ball.
Yay, sports ball. It costs $99.99 and it is a USB-C mobile adapter. So if you are interested in this, the DA300, it's a 6-in-1 USB-C adapter that has HDMI 2.0. There's a display port on here. There's VGA. So there's a legacy VGA, which actually a lot of people still use.
So many VGA
Conference rooms still have
projectors in
VGA.
conference
It's
rooms.
crazy.
Yeah.
Ethernet is also on here. USB-C and USB-A ports are all set into this neat little hockey puck, and it's really, really cute. It plugs in via a retractable USB cable, which to open, you simply unwind as such, and then when you're done with it, you just wind it back in and you can stick this in your laptop bag. It's so cute. So it works with 4K 60 Hertz resolutions and super speed USB 10 gigabits per second data transfer rates. So if you need to plug this in and you need access to a USB flash drive or something like that, 10 gigabits per second, which is very, very nice. I like that it's speedy. And I have tested this with some of my USB flash drives. It does work. It's really, really nice to use.
Does it work faster than the USB ports in the laptop?
No, it works about the same.
Okay.
Because they're both at that same exact spec.
Well, they're probably gated by the speed of the USB drive itself.
That's true.
What we need is a 10 gigabit Ethernet system.
Oh, I'm still waiting for one of those. There are no drivers to install, so it's completely plug and play. So I plug this into my laptop here. I've plugged it into the XPS that I use on Linux all the time. Completely plug and play. If you do use a Dell laptop, it also features MAC address pass-through, which is really cool. PXE boot, which is pre-execution environment boot, and Wake on LAN. Yeah, it has Wake on LAN too. Yeah, very, very enterprising. So if you need this for work, it's one of those go-to things. And it works with Windows and Mac. However, they don't say that it'll work with Linux, but you can also use this with Linux sometimes. However, if that is the only operating system you're using, I wouldn't buy this just for a Linux laptop. So keep that in mind, it's not officially supported. Now there are some cons to this. It only supports one video output at a time, which is a little unfortunate, but if you need more than that, I would say use another adapter. Also, if you connect this adapter to a Thunderbolt or 15-watt USB-C port, you get both USB-C and USB-A ports with 3.1 Gen 2 file transfers. So that's the 10 gigabits per second I mentioned.
Okay.
If you are connected via 7.5-watt USB-C port, only one of those USB ports will work at once, and the transfer rate is going to be a lot lower at 480 megabits per second. So keep that in mind whenever you're using this, because that data transfer rate will depend on how it's powered. So good to know. Now the second one that I have that I wanted to show y'all today, this one is called the Dell Power Companion, and it's basically just a gigantic power brick, if you want to hold that. Yeah, isn't it cute?
I've been carrying one of these for about 2 or 3 years. It's also, not only will it power the laptop by in my case, because I have one of the older laptops, I primarily use an external connector, so it adapts it to the barrel port that goes into the laptop.
Yeah.
But it looks like this one will this one do USB-C charging?
It will do, no, there's no USB-C charging on it, but it does have the 2 USB, so you can charge like a cell phone at the same time. Yeah, as well as your laptop at the same time. So specifically, this is made to be a charger for your laptop, which is really, really cool. And it does come with a couple of additional adapters, some little power cables, so that you can use these with whatever kind of laptop you have from Dell. So this is made just specifically for those Dell laptops. So like you can use this for your XPS 13, you can use this for an Inspiron. They have a whole compatibility list on their site, and it's also a 12,000 milliampere battery for the laptop, which means that it's going to charge pretty darn good. To charge it, you use your laptop's power adapter until it's full, and you can check the power level on the LEDs on the side of it. Since you have a larger one, you probably get a lot more power out of yours. I have the 12,000 milliampere hour battery one, so I don't get as much of a power charge out of it for my laptop, but it's still good.
At least 2.5 charges.
Yes, exactly. It's still quite well, because I think my laptop has like a 4,000 milliamp per hour battery or something. I'll have to check. The last one that I have here is the Kingston Nucleum USB-C hub. Yes, it is another USB-C hub, but this one is a little bit different. You can find this one, luckily it is on Amazon, which is great, and it's $50 over there, and they also have a website where you can buy it from over here. However, I believe it's out of stock on their website, so I would just buy it from Amazon. You know, it's be honest. This one has 7 ports, including a 4K HDMI connection. It also has power pass-through up to 60 watts, so that's awesome. Cool. So you could buy this for your Mac. You could plug in your AC adapter into this, and then plug this into your Mac, and then you would have access to all of these additional ports.
And still be charging your laptop.
Doesn't a Mac only have USB-C or some crazy thing like that?
Let us not open up that debate.
Okay. You could also charge your phone via the power pass-through as well if you don't need to charge your laptop at the same time. In total, this one comes equipped with 1 USB-C with power input. There's a USB-C on the other side for data Gen 1, which is 5 gigabits per second. There's an HDMI on here, but it's a little bit different. This one is slower. It's 1.4. So that means you're only going to get 30 instead of 60
30 hertz per second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
30 hertz.
30 hertz.
Sorry.
Which is a shame, but you know, at least you have an HDMI input on here.
Probably not a lot of people running around needing 4K 60 hertz throughput on their laptops.
That's the thing.
But it's good to know.
It's still somewhat new, so the market is still at like 1080p for most people.
Right.
But it does have 4K at that 30 hertz, so keep that in mind. It's also got 2 USB Type A ports on here. Those are also Gen 1, 5 gigabits per second, and they power up to 1.5 amps, so keep that in mind too. And there's an additional SD card slot on here, which is why I like to use this whenever I travel. And that can work with SD, HC, pretty much all of them, up to UHS, I think it's class 1 and 2 are the ones that it can work with. And then there's also a micro SD card slot on here that accepts micro SD, HC, UHS 1. So those two are very, very useful whenever you're a content creator. So yes, I would say this one is slower overall. It's also half the price of the Dell one, but it also has those micro SD and SD card slots. So it's a really, really good option for content creators. And that's what I do all the time is I use this for content creation. Every single time I use this, like whenever, in Hawaii is a great example. I was vlogging every day and I don't want to keep all that stuff on my SD card. So I would stick the SD card in here, power it into my little laptop here, and then I was able to edit on the go on the plane ride home.
You know, if your laptop had an SD card slot built into it, you wouldn't need an adapter.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be nice.
We like ports.
So there is one is good for a range of displays, VGA. It's good for enterprise, for example, and it has those faster data speeds. One is crafted just for charging up your laptop if you have a Dell laptop on the go. And then the other one is really great for content creators. Usually what I will do is take this one with me. However, if I know that I will need access to the internet, I'll bring this one so I have that Ethernet adapter as well, because I don't need a 60 hertz display at the moment. I am curious if you found a better USB-C hub for travel, because I'm always looking for a way to be able to do content creation and be able to access everything that I need. Let me know in the comments below, or you can tweet me, I'm at Snubs, or you can email us, ask@tekthing.com too, with all of your recommendations, or if you want us to review any other USB-C type hubs for travel as well.
It's got arrows.
It's so cool. I know, it's so cool.
We love your questions, your tips, and your suggestions of products and ideas to check out. Please tweet at TekThing, at Snubs, or at Patrick Dorton, or just email ask@tekthing.com. And a big shout out to our patrons, patreon.com/TekThing. You pay the bills, you make the show possible. Thank you. Join the crew that makes TekThing happen at patreon.com/TekThing.
We got a great email from Jeff. Hi, Jeff. He writes, once again, your show covers a topic that became relevant to my life. I needed to replace my CO alarm. Why do these things always go off when you're asleep? I figured I should turn to mine and your go-to site, the Wirecutter. It caught my attention that both reviews preferred connected alarms. I wondered what the use of a connected alarm might be and could only think that people who are unable to hear the alarm could benefit, but could not imagine any other situation where this would be a desirable feature. Further, I find them recommending a smart battery for non-connected alarms. According to the Wirecutter, quote, this 9-volt smart battery is not a smoke alarm itself, but thanks to its built-in microphone and Wi-Fi chip, I stopped reading right there. And following along the lines of your discussion about TekThings and home spying speakers, spikers? Oh, that's good. I like that.
Spikers.
I like that, Jeff. I wondered why anyone would think a battery with a microphone that is always on would be a good idea. Bedrooms need smoke alarms, so Shannon's rule not in the bathroom, bedroom, or living room could never be maintained. I'm also baffled by the idea that anyone would want a fire alarm to 1, use Wi-Fi, and 2, send alerts. And what else over the internet? Like most IoT, I ask how much security could possibly be present in a battery. Am I missing something here? I would like to hear your thoughts on this and any product recommendations you might have for good smoke and carbon monoxide alarms, connected or not, but preferably not. From Jeff, Patreon subscriber, San Diego, California.
Oh my goodness.
Woo, SoCal, what?
Great question, Jeff, and near and dear to my heart because I'm on my second round of smoke detectors in my house.
Oh.
10 years, my ass. And thank you so much for your patronage. But when you're looking at smoke detectors, let's substitute interconnectable or smart for connected. Because there's nothing wrong with a connected smoke alarm. In fact, it's actually pretty awesome.
Yeah.
When you talk about interconnected alarms, the basic smoke alarm article up the Wirecutter does a really good job of explaining a lot of what's going on. They're actually really dumb, and they generally don't connect to Wi-Fi or the internet. It just means that when one smoke alarm detects the smoke, it tells all the other alarms to go off, usually by hardwiring in the ceiling and walls of your house.
Okay.
Given that a fire can go from nothing to unsurvivable in under 3 minutes, getting an early heads up on a fire at the other end of your house can be the difference between life and death. You are good to go on any of these. Interconnected smoke alarms are particularly awesome if you have multi-storied houses, massive houses, sprawly houses. If you have a wood shop in your house, if you do mechanical work and keep gas in your garage. It doesn't take a lot for things to go wrong, and any advantage you can get is a big deal. So basic interconnected smoke alarms, these are okay. Assuming, of course, some 3-letter agency doesn't sneak into your house and plant a microphone and a transmitter in there, but you have much bigger issues than smoke alarms if that happens. So smart alarms, which I think are the ones that are really concerning to you, like the Nest Protect, are what's, I think, driving you nuts. Yes, they are connected to the internet. They let you know that something's going on. They let you know what room it's in. It also tests the battery. Actually, a lot of these can actually test their smoke sensors, right? Because smoke detectors wear out over time. They can give voice commands, go this way, or whatever voice it uses. They can be programmed to shut off your HVAC system in the event of a fire, which helps,
That's pretty cool.
It's actually super awesome.
Yeah.
And most important of all, they are smart enough or just smart enough to not do the 2 a.m. battery is low chirp. They'll wait until a civilized hour of the day to go panic on you. I have issues with smart detectors for different reasons.
Yeah.
They seem to, all the authorities are pretty happy, like people who actually do fire for a living.
Yeah.
Not me, are pretty happy, for example, with the Nest Protect alarm system. For me, as somebody who owned a Nest thermometer, which would turn off the heat when my wife and kids were in basically the same room as the thermometer, well, it's designed, one of the things you can do with the Nest, right, is it's smart. So it'll be like, hey, nobody's in the house. I'm going to turn the temperature down and save you money, and you'll get a green leaf at the end of the month.
But what if you're still there?
Yeah, that was problematic. So when the first round of Nest fire alarms were out, I'm like, if you can't test my 60-pound, 7-year-old, I'm not sure you want, smoke is kind of hard to see. My misgivings aside, people are actually really, really happy with these. My bigger issue at this point is I'm not sure I want to get an email or a text message or whatever kind of signal this is sending out over Wi-Fi and the internet to find out the house is on fire when I'm not there.
Yeah.
But that might be because dealing with the aftermath of a fire leaves you feeling helpless enough without second-guessing yourself over the message you received when it first started or was detected by the smoke alarms. And hey, if it's 11 p.m. and I'd CES, I could try to call my wife just in case the alarms didn't wake her up to save the children. But complicated feels.
That's stressful.
And that's even before we talk about whatever concerns you have about security or privacy, Amazon, Google, smart device questions.
And that's the thing, like any smart devices, you do have to trust the security provided by the manufacturer, whether that's a Roost battery or the Nest Protect. A lot of these devices even have had vulnerabilities in the past, and while they have patched them, there's always a potential that there is a new vulnerability up and coming. You never really know, and you do have to put trust in them to secure yourself as far as the fire goes, but also protect yourself with privacy in mind.
Yeah, and don't My misgivings about the Nest alarms are mostly about my dad died in
Your
a fire.
life, yeah.
I don't know I
Yeah.
would have dealt with that much better having found out 8 hours before I did, like when the barn first started on fire.
Yeah.
Like for me to have, well, at that point it would have been a pager, which I didn't have, like to getting a page being like, the barn's on fire, the barn's on fire. On the flip side, I can see where people would want to know or try to respond or do all the sort of support work. Pretty sure Jeff's going to avoid the smart alarms.
Yeah, it sounds
which
like
is
it.
fine. I don't have any particular concerns. I mean, Nest, for example, owned by Google, they probably are keeping an eye on security just because they don't want to be sued. And the basic interconnected alarms, they're fine. Do not worry. Connected isn't bad. It just means they're trying to save you, actually in a not particularly complicated way that doesn't involve Wi-Fi or the internet.
And you will still have to deal with the 2 a.m. beep, beep with those interconnected alarms. But some of them do have a test button on the front of them. In fact, all the ones that I've had in my apartment so far, I can't reinstall alarms because I'm in an apartment, but I can stick my little brush up there, my broomstick, and press it and make sure that the battery's still good in the middle of the day. So I do that every like 6 months or so.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to deal with the battery going off at 2 a.m.
I will say the Wirecutter articles are pretty fantastic because they talk to a bunch of people who are serious experts, and they talk about the real world. I mock 10-year alarms, but I have a dusty house and the alarms haven't lasted that long.
Yeah, totally.
10-year batteries may not really last 10 years. Really good basic information and how to configure them so as to give your family the best advantage should all things. Smoke alarms are something you never want to rely upon, but like a quarter of the deaths related to fire are in homes with inoperable smoke alarms.
Wow.
So back up your data, back up your phone, back up your NAS, and hey, go out and check to make sure your smoke alarms work.
Exactly.
We'll add that to the list.
And we'll put those links to the Wirecutter articles down below in the show notes as well if anybody else wants to read them and educate yourself on all the cool things that Jeff has already read. Jeff, let us know what you pick as well. We're very interested to hear. Ask@TekThing.com. You know where to email us already, or you can tweet us at TekThing.
A big thank you to Hack5 for the studio space we shoot TekThing inside of. Thank you, Hack5. If you haven't been there, do yourself a favor. Check out the security and privacy podcast at hack5.org. Then click right here, products, to check out the superior pen testing and USB automation tools. There's some good stuff here. By the way, if you're running an enterprise network or testing enterprise networks, check out Cloud C2. It makes it really easy for pen testers and IT security teams to deploy and manage fleets of Hack5 gear from a simple cloud dashboard. Thank you, Hack5. We appreciate it. In reference to my 400 gigabyte cheap Android phone upgrade, I want to thank Jeremy for the reminder that the iPhone XS has a 512 gigabyte option.
Whoa.
To Lyle, who also notes that the Galaxy Note 9 and even the Asus ROG phone have 512 gigabyte options as well.
What?
And to TechLeather, I love that name, who mentioned both the Apple and Samsung options. The most complete answer of the three answers. But actually, seriously, everybody who sent those in, like she said, thank you.
I know the ones that we have reviewed on the show like so well.
Right.
Like I can tell you the specs about a OnePlus so quick, but ask me about any of the others and I'm just like,
Well, as somebody did point out to me, they're like, you should really know the Samsung stuff because they are like the biggest manufacturer of Android phones.
Send us some reviews, Samsung.
And I will say, for all of those phones, they still cost way more than the G6 I've got and the 400 gigabyte SanDisk micro SD card. Of course, for paying 2 or 3 times as much, you do get a much nicer camera.
That's very true. Well, remember, put down your 512 gigabyte memory storage phone, step away from the screen, close your laptop, and do something analog, like this week's pick from Nick. And Nick didn't say this was an analog, so I hope he doesn't mind us showing this adorable photo. But he said, Patrick and Shannon, just wanted to let you know I found a rare unicorn kitty. Lol. And I thought this was perfect for Halloween.
You should put it on the screen.
Oh, Colleen will. It's so cute.
It's Halloween time.
I kind of want to do this to my cat.
Your cat will kill you in your sleep if you do this.
I know, but it's worth it.
And now I want to turn the husky into a unicorn.
Unicorn kitty. It's a unikitty.
Unikitty.
It's unikitty.
Now I want to watch the Lego movie.
Me too.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Shannon Morse.
We'll see you next week. See you next week on TekThing.
We will.
That's one
if
more
you
than
lasted
this
long, comment below 200, the number 200.
I like how you're
and then a
leading into this
bunch of
like you're riding a
emojis.
surfboard.
And then post your favorite emojis in the comments, and I'll heart them. I'll heart my favorite.
It's okay to not use emojis.
I love it. There's nothing wrong with emojis.
I didn't say there was anything wrong with it.
Emojis are full of emotion.
If you understand what I mean.
Yes, true.
So a friend of mine's his friend of mine's dad sent the mom an emoji, and apparently either she didn't understand it or he didn't understand it. Apparently a near divorce incident.
Uh-oh.
I don't know which emoji it was though.
Oh man.
I was like, dude.
That'd be funny.
Wait, what was the? I don't know.
Eggplant?
I'm afraid to ask.
The peach?